computer. Hello, Leaky Gut family. This is Dr. Floyd. I am lucky and fortunate enough to be here with Marie-Eve Bernard, who is a licensed naturopath in Canada. And I was so lucky to meet her through one of our mentoring programs together that we've both been very fortunate to go through in order to help us get our word out and make what we're doing a little bit more accessible to the general public. And Marie-Eve is what I've learned through interacting with her is incredibly brilliant, and she has such a big heart and is here to help make the world a better place. And so I really wanted to introduce her to everybody and help get her message out. So Marie-Eve, welcome.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be here with you today, Robert.
Excellent. Thank you so much. We're lucky and fortunate to have you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your background, what you do, and then we can get into a little bit about a program that you've developed as well.
Yeah, sure. So as you've mentioned, I'm a licensed naturopath. I live in Quebec, Canada, and I've always loved to work with families, more specifically with children. I'm a mom of two, and I've always been specializing in helping children and family, basically. So I've decided like a while ago that because I was seeing so many children basically in my clinic who were dealing with either like sleep issues, anxiety, high levels of stress, digestive issues also linked to stress and so on. So that made me realize like how important it is to actually address that with children, because also probably, as you can tell as well, so many adults are dealing with high levels of stress or anxiety and so on. So that made me think, why don't we just address the problem as they are younger so they can actually thrive to be the best version of themselves, because they will be able to better self-regulate, deal better with stress and anxiety. So from that understanding, I've decided to just basically work with this particular niche, if I can say, where I really help families and children to learn how to cope better with stress and anxiety. So this is what I do now, basically full time.
Oh, that's so great. And that's wonderful. And the thing is, like you said, you start with them young and teach them how to give them some coping skills and become more resilient, correct?
Yeah, exactly. This is like resiliency is like a capacity that we as human, the more we develop it, it actually has an impact, like not only on our mental health, but our overall health. So being more resilient will actually have a positive impact on our immune system or on our digestive system and so on. So this is a very fundamental ability that we should all focus on and develop more, for sure.
Absolutely. And so you are a licensed naturopath, and I'm assuming it's very not just niche oriented. You probably look at the whole picture of a patient, correct?
Yeah, definitely. So my approach as a naturopath is definitely, I'm going to address the root cause of why the children are actually feeling stressed or anxious. So by addressing the root cause of the problem, what happens is we will not only have effective results, but also long-lasting results, right? So, and this is like one of the main things we want to get in terms of when we are looking for a solution for our children or even for ourselves. We don't want to redo everything like we want that to stick basically and to be long lasting, for sure. So addressing the root cause is super important because this will lead to long lasting results with children.
100%. Yeah. It's very similar to functional medicine. It's root cause medicine. It's attacking the problem at the root, at the headwaters instead of way downstream. And so what are some of the tenets of naturopathic medicine and some of the modalities that you use to help children overcome this anxiety? And another one of the questions is a twofold question. I'm assuming that you've seen this anxiety with young people get much, much more frequent and worse over the last 2 crazy years that we've lived through, correct?
Oh yeah, definitely. So we've seen like definitely a lot more people in general, not just children, but people in general, they're feeling more stressed, more anxious, and it's totally normal too, because definitely the pandemic brought a lot of like fears and worries, that's for sure. So what do we do in terms of like the naturopathic approach when we want to help, as an example, a child who's feeling stressed or anxious? We will definitely look at their diet. So this is one of the first thing we'll do. So looking at their diet is super important. Unfortunately, as like the SAD diet, so the standard American diet, is not a diet that is sustainable in terms of like bringing the right nutrients in order for the body to function to its optimal level, right? So very often what happens, a child could like have either like some nutritional deficiencies, not necessarily to a level where this is like a dramatic low level, but definitely that could actually affect either proper like brain functions and things like that. Another thing that we will look at is their lifestyle habits. So their sleep, the time they spend in front of screens. So we see an increase in the screen time in children. I've been reading a study recently that was saying the average American child spent 8 hours in front of a screen each day. This is like, it's like a work shift, right? So it's amazing. And definitely we cannot ignore the impact of this time screen. If they are spending 8 hours in front of a screen, they're not doing something else, right? So we'll be looking at all those lifestyle habits as well. Definitely the gut health is something very important that I do address with pretty much every single family that I will work with every children. So looking at their microbiome, making sure this is balanced, because as you know, working with leaky gut patients, this has a massive impact on their mental state as well.
Absolutely. Those are all the 3 things that I work with as well, in functional medicine, and, diet, lifestyle, gut health, exercise, activity, support, social support, group support, family support, and, stress relief, as well. And I mean, I can't tell you how many patients I see where I ask them, well, what do you do for stress reduction? And they're like, oh, nothing. I'm like, well, I mean, you got to do something. I mean, go outside for a walk at least, and it doesn't have to be huge, but even being mindfully aware of, wow, maybe I'm kind of stressed out. Like right before we got on the recording, you and I were talking about, self-care, and it's so important to have self-care. And so, and you talked about, diet, lifestyle, gut health, and all of this is compounding, right? And it's not just one thing that is harming us as humans, but especially vulnerable little kids who don't know how to deal with this. It all compounds together. You said first things you do is adjust, look at their diet. What are some of the things you would recommend that they either decrease or exclude, eliminate, and include?
Yeah. So something I say to every single patient, family, children, whatever that is, I say that to everybody, is to increase their vegetables intakes. Like people who know me, who've been working with me, they know I say that to everybody. So vegetables are fundamental for everyone's health, no matter like you're healthy, you have some health issues. This is fundamental, because not only vegetables have like high levels of vitamin, minerals, and so on, but they are also very rich in fibers, and this will help to nurture or to promote a healthy microbiome. So this is something that I will recommend for everybody. Definitely also increasing the amount of omega-3s in their diet. This is something that everybody can do starting today, to just making sure that they do have good source of omega-3 in their diet as well. So this will not only have a positive impact on the brain, but it will also help to decrease any inflammation that there could be in the body as well, which will lead to positive impact as well.
Yeah, that's that, I say the same, very similar things to patients. I was just talking to this morning another, functional nutritionist, and I was talking about a client I have who's got some depression, and he said omega-3s, increase omega-3s, omega-3s, omega-3s.
Definitely.
And,
because
the
we
omega,
have sorry, but
that's,
right now with the SAD diet, so the standard American diet at the moment, what happens is there is too high levels of pro-inflammatory fat in our diet, and this has a negative impact on like the overall body, right? So, and we have like very tiny amounts of omega-3 in our diet. It's actually reversed. Like it should be the other way around. So just doing this simple thing, like making sure that you do have daily source of omega-3s in your diet, this will have a positive impact on your child's well-being, that's for sure.
Totally. I would agree 100%. And, back in the day, the, caveman, the paleo people, whoever it was, whatever you want to call them, they had a 1-to-1 ratio of omega-3 to omega-6. And like you said, today in the standard American diet, it's 14 or 15 or 16 to 1 omega-6s to omega-3s. And as you mentioned, the omega-6s are pro-inflammatory. I mean, they still have some good stuff to them, but we need to go back to basically a 1-to-1, and maybe even like a 2 or 3-to-1 omega-3 to omega-6 fatty acid ratio. And how would you recommend your clients achieve that?
So basically there's a whole bunch of ways, but omega-3s are like, you do find them abundantly in like fish. So like, as an example, salmon, trout, and things like that. If your child doesn't like to eat fish, which happens, of course, definitely going just with like good quality omega-3 supplement would be a way to go as well. There are also vegan or vegetarian source of omega-3s such as chia seeds, hemp seeds, and so on. So just making sure that you do have one of those source every single day in your diet. This is something like a recipe I give to a lot of people is this very basic chia seeds pudding is literally takes like 1 minute to make, super healthy, super tasty as well, very easy to incorporate in your daily diet, and it's rich in omega-3s as well.
Yes, I'm a big fan of the chia seeds. I try to eat them every day. They're super easy, and what I do is, because I don't use dairy most of the time. Again, it's the 90-10 rule. Most of the time you do what's right. You can cheat every now and then, but I'll have like a coconut or almond milk yogurt with, or some, paleo style cereal, made out of non-wheat grains, with, I put hemp hearts, I put chia seeds and sometimes flax seeds, blueberries, blackberries, and then some almond milk, or if the cereal or almond yogurt, and oh, it's delicious.
There you go.
You're getting, like you'd mentioned earlier, all the fibers, which are so important as a prebiotic to feed the microbiome, which, as you and I know, and I think the rest of the world is being learned on it, is that it's so important to have a healthy microbiome.
Definitely. Yeah. And just like going back to your breakfast, healthy breakfast, it's also a great way to maintain a healthy blood sugar balance there. And this is also super important when it comes to managing your stress as well. So if your brain or your blood sugar level is like a roller coaster, whenever you go to that bottom curve of the roller coaster, definitely if you're facing like a stress in your daily life, you will be reacting differently as opposed to if your blood sugar balance is more stable, right? So there you go. You got a great breakfast for making sure this is stable.
Yeah, I noticed that happens to me. You get hangry, they call it, right?
Yeah.
Or like, and it's so funny. Sometimes I'll be doing something and then I'll find myself just really pissed off. And I'm like, why am I so angry? And like, oh, because I haven't eaten for 18 hours. And, you know, I
Yeah.
mean, normally I can go without eating for a long time, but every
Yeah.
once in a while you hit that low and you're like, oh, hey, time for self-care, time to eat. You know, we
Exactly.
talked about some of the things to include. What are some of the things you tell your clients and patients to exclude? You know, because I'll tell you, and I've, you know, my clients and my patients in my clinic, they probably get sick of hearing it. If I say it one time a day, I say it 100 times a day: gluten-free, dairy-free, sugar-free, gluten-free, dairy-free, sugar-free, over and over and over. And so
Mhm.
what do you tell your clients to avoid?
Yeah. So as you've mentioned, sugar, so refined sugar is something we will definitely try to exclude from the diet. Again, coming back to maintaining a healthy blood sugar level, this is super important. And working on the microbiome, definitely we will make sure to reduce gluten intakes. So for some families, it's super challenging to get rid of it totally. So sometimes we will just work on strategies to making sure to decrease gluten as well. Dairy is very often something we will not necessarily completely exclude again, but definitely working on the amount that they will have in their diet as well. There is a lot of children that are actually reacting negatively to dairy product, that's for sure. I've always seen that in my practice. Babies, toddlers, and so on. This is something that is not necessarily good for everybody, that's for sure. Again, coming back to hydrogenated fat, this is something we will work on. I'm not sure if I say it right. So making sure that they have healthy fats in their diet. So very often we will work on that as well. So this is something families I require them to exclude from their diet. So margarine, any fried food, and so on. This is not healthy fat, so we want to make sure to get rid of that as well.
Okay, yeah, like the partially hydrogenated fats and
Yeah,
things like that. Like,
yeah,
you know,
exactly.
absolutely 100%.
Yeah.
You know, I think I'm a big believer, and you know, I'm sure you're aware of when the USDA made the food pyramid back in 1977, and you know, fat is the devil, and you can literally see two graphs superimposed on each other that the fat intake in America went down and sugar and wheat just skyrocketed, and along with that, so did chronic disease. You know, it followed
Mhm.
literally, like if you can literally graph it and it matches it almost 100% perfectly. And you know, I'm a big believer in healthy fats. You know, I try to eat avocado as much as possible. You know, I eat a lot of nuts to help me
Yeah.
get my healthy oils and fats, like, you know, extra virgin olive oil. And you know, oftentimes, you know, I will supplement my coffee with the MCTs in it.
Mhm.
What about fasting? Do you have your clients do any fasting?
Because they are children, we don't necessarily work on like doing any fasting with children, but sometimes what we'll do is we'll just look at like at what time they are taking their meals. For some children, it's not necessary that they have a snack before going to bed, as an example. So we'll work on taking a look at, is that necessary that your child eats like 15 minutes before going to bed, making sure maybe they have a bigger dinner as opposed to having a smaller dinner and a snack before going to bed, as an example. Personally, I don't work with fasting with children though.
Yeah, that makes sense. I could understand that. Um, what are some of the other contributing factors to childhood anxiety right now? You know, I mean, I'm sure it's multifactorial and there's probably hundreds of them, but what do you think in your opinion have really like brought this childhood anxiety to almost a tsunami level, correct?
Yeah, there's so many. Yeah, that's for sure. Again, this is multi-level. There is a lot of cause. I very often compare it to a spider web. So if we do address only one cause, the likelihood of having positive results isn't like really that great. But I think it's like a combination of like poor lifestyle habits, poor diet, poor coping skills as well. So as an example, with the program that I do propose with families, we work on implementing mindfulness techniques as well. And this is actually super effective for children as well as for adults. In fact, this is one of the most researched techniques to help people to cope with stress, right? Super effective, super easy to implement with children. So I'm not saying that parents are not good at giving like coping skills to their children. That's not what I'm saying. It's just children are facing way more stress than, as an example, I used to face when I was a child, or you used to face when you were a child, right? So I don't know, life is just has changed a lot, and we have to equip our children better than ever in terms of like helping them to cope with stress and anxiety, and making sure that all the other aspects in terms of their diet, their lifestyle are healthy and balanced, so they can actually be more resilient, basically.
Absolutely. Resiliency is absolutely imperative to live a healthy, happy, well-adjusted life. And you can work on resiliency with mindfulness. When you speak of mindfulness, are you kind of referring maybe to some cognitive behavioral therapy? Do you just can you explain that a little bit more for the audience, please?
Yeah, so mindfulness basically is helping, as an example for children, is helping them to develop their awareness of being in the here and now. So basically, it's observing what's happening in their mind with kindness and curiosity. So the thing is, with anxiety, very often the children or the people will project themselves in the future. What if this happened? What if I face? So it's the what if illness, if I can say. They're very much projecting themselves in the future, in a future that never really happens, because in fact, like very little of what they're projecting will actually happen, right? So mindfulness really helps them to move from that future state of mind to the present state of mind. And we do that through different techniques. So there is part of mindfulness that will be really helping them to implement some techniques that are more related to meditation and so on. But there are other techniques through like play that will help them to observe more, be really in the here and now. As an example, if we're talking or if I'm with a child, I can tell to that child, or if the child is eating, it's a very good, like if you want to do a little mindfulness technique with your child while you're having dinner, you can invite your child to be aware of like next bite they take. Is that warm? Is that cold? Is that sweet? Is that salty? To really observe as they eat that bite. So this is basically mindfulness, is to be in their here and now with what you do, basically.
Yeah, that's cool. That's very, very cool. It reminds me of an Eckhart Tolle quote. It says that the primary cause of unhappiness is never the situation, but the thoughts about it. And then that you're supposed to be aware of the thoughts you are thinking. And, what you said is very profound about, oftentimes people get anxiety about the future, and most of the time that future never materializes in that negative aspect, the way they were thinking. So yeah, that's really excellent. And I really love the fact that, you said, look inside with kindness and curiosity. I think if more people did that to themselves in a mindful way with kindness and curiosity towards themselves, I think we'd be in a much better place as a society, right?
Yeah, definitely. And so very often our mind, or as individual, we're very we judge ourselves very easily, and we're really hard on ourselves most of the time, right? We judge why I haven't done it this way, and So basically mindfulness really helps, again, because we look at our mind or at ourselves with kindness and curiosity. We're not as judgmental with our thoughts. So this is just a thought. It doesn't define who I am or anything like that. It's just a thought. So it really helps to disconnect a little bit from our thought and just be like, oh, it's a thought. Like it doesn't mean I am this thought, right? So I remember one day walking on the street near my place, and I saw this sticker on a car that was saying, don't believe everything you think. And this is so true. Like we tend to think that if I think it, this is true, but in fact, that's not the case. So mindfulness really helps us to detach a little bit from our thought. So that way we can better have a better, not control, but really have a better understanding that this is a thought and I don't have to believe everything I think.
Yeah, that's very, very, very real. And, I've some of the meditation teachers I've listened to, they say that, thoughts are just like clouds in the sky,
Totally.
they materialize and then they go away. And I mean, if
Mhm.
you put it in that aspect, yeah, we are not our thoughts, not at all. I mean, we are our actions, which come from those thoughts, but thoughts mean really nothing, And so, that's one of the big things about when I tell people in my practice, I say, you need to meditate. Here's how you do it. Sit down, take a minute on your iPhone or whatever it is, and sit there and take deep breaths and think to yourself, I'm breathing in, I'm breathing out, I'm breathing in, I'm breathing out, and do it for 1 minute. And I tell them, I said, when it gets longer, you'll be thinking about your breath, and then you'll have a thought come in. Just let it go. It's going to come in just like a cloud, and then it's going to go away. And then, because I'm like you said, I'm very hard on myself. I judge myself. I'm my own worst critic for sure.
Mhm.
And so, like
Like most
sometimes,
of us.
yeah. And I tell my clients and my patients, I say, listen, don't beat yourself up because you're trying to meditate, but all of a sudden you're thinking about, oh God, I got to go to the post office at 2. I got to go pick up the kids, and it's okay. It comes in, it goes out. Go back and just say, I'm breathing in, I'm breathing out. And so, do you do breathing exercises with the children?
Yes, I do. Actually, we call it an anchor in mindfulness. So using your breath as an anchor. So as an example, if you have thoughts, you can always like, as soon as you notice, oh, I'm thinking, like, oh, I'm going to come back to my anchor, which is my breathing. We can use other anchors as well, but breathing is one of the anchor that we use. And very often parents are a little skeptical if whether or not this will work for children. Honestly, children are the most amazing people to work with mindfulness. They lean into this process so easily, and they really feel the benefits from it, and they actually use it in their own life, probably even more than adults, I would say.
Yeah, for sure. And they're so moldable, right?
Yeah.
They're plastic. You can mold them into how you can help them be better people. And going back to what you said about mindfulness and, parents, unfortunately, yeah, the world is way trickier than it was when we grew up. And parents today are not trained they're not trained to deal with these poor children who I could not imagine being a junior high schooler or a high school kid right now with this, 24/7 access to the internet and this and that. I mean, it's just, every single generation thinks that ours was the hardest and the new ones coming up are so bad, but it's always just changing. And like you said, parents are not trained to help their children. They're not trained psychologists, psychiatrists, mindfulness coaches. So how do you help? I mean, I know your program, you can't just go to the kids and help them. You also must be helping the parents as well, correct?
Yeah, in fact, like most of the program is really between the parent and me. Of course, I do work with the child, but I do work a lot with the parents as well. So as an example, whenever we do dietary changes, it's not gonna be the child who's gonna be, oh, I'm gonna eat more vegetables today, right? It's the parent who's cooking the meal. So I have to work with the parent. And in fact, with the program that I do propose for families, as an example, those mindfulness sessions that I do with children, I also do propose mindfulness session for parents. So not only they are able to implement it in their own life, which will have a positive impact on their child as well, because if the parents show up more calm, more at peace, it will have a positive impact on their child, but also they will be able to better help their child to implement mindfulness in their life as well. So this is one of the techniques that we'll actually use with parents. And most of them really do enjoy applying mindfulness in their own life as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much for what you do. You know, you're making the world a better place, you know, one family and one child at a time, and it's awesome. And, you know, I know you have such a big heart, and it's really cool. And thank you so much for all of your information today. You know, you talked about, you know, implementing diet stuff, and I loved your elderberry syrup video. That was awesome. And, you know, one of the things I heard about today, we're talking with that nutritionist about depression. He told me, and I'm sure you know all about this, is lavender oil taking by mouth can help with anxiety. And I never knew, you know, lavender smells good. It helps you sleep, makes you calm. But I never knew that you could take lavender oil by mouth in little capsules for anxiety. I thought that was pretty cool. So anything else you'd like to tell the audience out there, then that give them maybe some other tips to help them be more mindful and calm? And maybe if they have children, how can they help their children be more mindful and calm?
Yeah, something that I'd like to just maybe tell to parents is, first of all, it's never too late and it's never too early either to really help our children to learn how to cope better with stress and anxiety. Personally, as a mom, I think it's one of the greatest gifts we can give to our children to learn how to cope better with stress, because unfortunately, I don't think there will be less and less stress as they grew up. It's like, I mean, the way it goes, there is just more and more stress. So I think this is our responsibility as parents to equip our children to really have everything they need to cope better with stress and anxiety. And one simple step that the parents can take right now to help their child is, first of all, as I've mentioned, making sure to get your child to eat more vegetables, try to reduce processed food. Just doing that will be like having positive impact for sure. And maybe just like trying to find like a good mindfulness book, or just take 2 minutes of your time each day or every once in a while to do some breathing technique with your child. Just doing that will be beneficial for sure.
Oh, that's so awesome. Thank you so much. And I know that you're really going to make a huge difference in the world, and you already are. And thank you. Thank you, honestly, for making the world a better place. So
that's my pleasure. I mean, I love this interview. That's great. Thanks for having me today. That's really nice of you.
oh, it's our pleasure and my honor. And how can you give us how people can find you, how people can get a hold of you if they want to work with you, please?
Yeah, sure. So they can actually visit my website. So it's www.herbsandcalm.com. Maybe we can put the link just below the video.
We will.
On my website, I also have a free masterclass where I do explain a little bit more about the approach I use with children with anxiety and stress. So they can sign in and watch this free masterclass if they want to. And they can also reach me on Instagram at Herbs and Calm as well.
Excellent, excellent. And you said you're just starting a YouTube channel as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. So it's under my name, Marie-Eve Bernard.
Awesome. Well, Marie-Eve, thank you so much. What an honor and what a pleasure to have you here. I'm going to share this with as many people as I can. And I look forward to having some more talks with you, because you're such a nice, wonderful, special person. And thank you.
Thank you very much, Robert. Take care.
All right. Okay. Take care.